Well, first of all, I want to thank each and every one of you. You are so important. You are so critical to this fight, to this war. We are at war. Make no mistake. Make no mistake for 1 second. The obvious war, of course, the violent jihad. And we witness that here in America on at least a bi-monthly basis. The Times Square bomber, in Arkansas, the bombing of the military recruiting office, the shooting of the soldiers in Arkansas, the Fort Hood jihad. The Fort Hood jihad, here we had a man, Major Hassan, whose business card said Soldier of Allah, who on the morning of his jihad was handing out Qurans, who was wearing the garb of the Shaheed that day, who was screaming Allahu Akbar as he mowed down 13 of our unarmed soldiers on the largest attack on a naval base in American history, and still the DOD and the Pentagon will not speak to the motivation behind this attack, and President Obama's administration is being sued for not releasing information that's germane to the prosecution of Hassan, the Times Square bomber, who only by God's grace did not get that bomb off in Times Square. And I don't know if you've ever been to Times Square on a Saturday night. It would have dwarfed 9/11. And I'm sick and tired of somehow diminishing the attack that didn't happen, as if it's okay because it didn't happen. Hello? So the stealth jihad is very real. We hear about it I hear about it on a daily basis. You know, there have been 18,000 Islamic attacks since 9/11, each one with the imprimatur of a Muslim cleric, each one with a mosque behind it, and yet we're not allowed to even say the word jihad or Islamic terror. There's something fundamentally wrong. And yet, this terrible problem, which I've just sparsely outlined, is nothing compared to the stealth jihad. And when I say stealth jihad, I am talking about the academic, the economic, the legal, the social, and the cultural jihad in this country. It is a covert operation, although increasingly more brazen under President Obama. And if you haven't seen the mosquing, say, of the workplace, where they sue unions to impose Muslim prayer times on union contracts, and people say, well, you know, they just want to pray. But they don't do this in Muslim countries. In Iran, there are no footbaths in airports and universities. They don't pray during work in Muslim countries. They pray before, they pray after. It's not stated anywhere that they have to pray during work. So why do this? To impose Islam on the secular marketplace. It's Islamic supremacism, which is in the very DNA of Islam. The mosquing of the workplace, the woman suing Disney because she wants to wear the hijab. Look, Disney has a dress code since 1957. Don't work at Disney. The Walmart cashiers and the Target cashiers that will not handle halal meat are suing. Don't work at Walmart. No, they sue and they get special privileges. It's Islamic supremacism. Just today, CARE, a Muslim Brotherhood group, as shown into evidence in the largest terrorist funding trial in American history, the Holy Land Trial, named Muslim Brotherhood, and the group that the media goes to, always, okay, is suing because a Muslima weightlifter wants to wear the full hijab. And this is problematic because you need to see if the knee's locked. I mean, this is not my field, okay? But I can tell you that you got to see certain things. And so now we're going to, you know, introduce special privileges and give it a competitive advantage if they do cave, and they always do, to Islamic supremacism. I was scheduled to be here and fly down with Katie today, and I couldn't. Why? Because a terrible story came on my radar screen. The story is, and I know I'm jumping, but I'm not. I'm trying to show you just how perverse this spread of Islamic supremacism is, and the American people are like Helen Keller and Someone Moved the Furniture. Something is wrong, and they don't know what. They don't know what. The media is no longer in any responsible fashion a news gathering organization at all. They are the enemy. I am telling you this, not hyperbole, okay? This is truth. These are concretes. They are the activist arm of the uber left. They are the propaganda arm of the left wing who has aligned itself with Islamic supremacists. The Islamic supremacists could never have gotten where they got without the aid and the abetting of the left. And people find this shocking. You know, queers for Palestine. Hello? They're killing gays, hanging them in the public square on cherry pickers. No group is as abused in Islam. So why? Because the common enemy is America. The hatred of America unites these radical groups. And yet, it's people like me that are marginalized and discredited and called all kinds of names, and Robert Spencer and Ibn Warq and my colleagues, because we tell the truth. Truth is the new hate speech. And just telling the truth is a radical act. So I came to Florida early because there is a story of a girl, Fatima Abdullah, in Tampa, who was murdered, okay? And whose murder, honor killing, was classified as an accidental suicide. Wait. Trust me on this, it gets better. She was suicided by banging her head on a coffee table. You hear this? Until she died. Now let me say one thing. Let me tell you, this story happened, interestingly enough, at the exact same time as Rifka Barry fled Ohio. If you remember Rifka Barry, she was a Christian convert out of Islam. Her mosque, the Noor Mosque, was spying on her, found out she converted out of Islam to Christianity, told her parents. Her parents, her father, threatened to kill her. You know, if you have this Jesus in your heart, I'm going to kill you. She ran away. And it was interesting, when the story came on my radar screen, I said to Spencer, I said, you think she got out? And he said, they never get out. So when she was discovered in Florida, imagine my joy. And she, when she was apprehended by law enforcement, gave an incredible video testimony when they were leading her into the to child services, and that video went viral, and this became, I don't know, how many of you are aware of Rifka Barry here? Okay. This became a very hot story in Florida. And in the news, she was depicted as a radical, fundamentalist Christian. Because I was giving it an enormous amount of coverage, was you know, oh, another reason for Geller to, you know, to slam the Muslims, blah, 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 anti-Muslim, racist, Islamophobic bigot that she is. A week later, Fatima was dead. A week after Rifka made that video and became headline news, Fatima Abdullah was dead. And even more coincidentally, the day that Rifka Barry was sent back to Ohio, they won. CARE and all the Islamic supremacist groups that were trying to get this girl back to her scary household. Meanwhile, you know, millions of girls run away. They're on drugs, they're selling their bodies, nobody cares. This little virgin from Ohio who converted out of Islam, the whole country is tracking her. This is Islamic supremacism. The same day that she was sent back to Ohio, Tampa, medical examiner Laura Hare classified her death as an accidental suicide. I don't believe in that coincidence. I believe somebody was paid off. And what is the message that we're sending? First of all, read the autopsy report. It's on my site. Look at the crime scene photos. You'll see the marks. You know when someone squeezes your arms really hard and there are black and blue marks from a thumb or what have you? Her left breast is bloodied. There is no blood on the coffee table where she allegedly banged her head and to kill herself, which, by the way, according to many doctors that I spoke to, is impossible. But because they didn't want to offend Muslims, it was classified as an accidental suicide. Now, I'm asking you something. Is this who we've become? That a Muslim girl's life is worthless? That it's politically expedient to classify it as a death than deal with the bad publicity that we might get? This is shocking. This is the Sharia in America. This is how it imposes itself. And I know that people are very involved in this anti-Sharia legislation, and of course I support it, but I want to say something, okay? It's not the answer. I'm sorry, it's not. The Constitution should be covering our First Amendment rights, period. people say, well, you know, they're shredding the Constitution, so this will work. So let me understand this. They're going to throw out the Constitution but adhere to anti-Sharia? Oh, and you can't call it anti-Sharia legislation. You got to call it foreign law prohibition. So already you're moving, you know, already you're watering it down. But meanwhile, really terrible things are happening. They cried about a watered-down terrorism bill in Tennessee, and yesterday, Tennessee legislation was passed to ban the posting of images that might offend somebody. Now, I understand they always use some story, you know, a story that goes to your heart. Like, well, you know, what if a girl, you know, a boy took a picture of a girl and she wasn't wearing her panties and he went under her dress and he posted online and she'd be forever scarred for life. Oh, yeah, let's pass that legislation. It never works that way. Just like Matthew Shepard became the poster boy for hate crime legislation. Another outrage and another capitulation in the end to the Sharia. Because first of all crime is hate. Understand this. And all crime should be fully prosecuted to the law. But once you say hate crime, well, what is that? And what is hate speech? What is hate speech? And who decides? I mean, look, freedom of speech, the objective of our founding fathers of freedom of speech was to protect all speech, even speech that you do not like. Which is why the Ku Klux Klan, when they march, I don't say anything because I know my ideas are better and I know I'm going to win. I never try to shut them up. So who decides what's good and what's forbidden? The government? Or now that you have a president who's abdicating American sovereignty, relinquishing American hegemony to international law, which is the UN, then who there? Who's the international law? You know who it is. It's the OIC, the Organization of Islamic Conference, the largest body of countries in the UN. It's 56 countries. They say it's 57 because they count Palestine. I don't think there's such a thing. I call it Muslim-occupied Israel, but why split hairs? So here, 56 countries vote as one bloc, and what do they look to do? They look to restrict free speech. Why? Because that's the Sharia. And for the first time in American history, you had a president, President Obama, co-sponsor a bill with Egypt to restrict free speech. This is outrageous. Tennessee passing legislation under the radar, nobody knows about it, to ban images that offends. Well, oh my God, what is, who decides that? I am telling you, your basic freedoms are under attack. Your basic freedoms are under attack, and you, every single one of you, are soldiers. You could look at me like I'm crazy, but I'm not crazy. Because I'm going to ask you, on that day, on 9/11, when they flew those planes into those buildings, and our doctors and lawyers and stockbrokers and mothers and fathers and daughters and kids were slaughtered, were they our soldiers? Were they wearing uniforms? They are our soldiers, and so are you. And no one is going to save you. No one. You are going to save you. And that's why it's very important that you get behind certain people, like Alan West. Yeah, Alan West would write me in 2006. I said, you know, these emails are so incredible, you have to let me start running them. And he had a column at Atlas, the colonel from Kandahar. I see Adam Hasna is in the house. You must get behind these people who will not be bought with serious payola money. And they have infiltrated the conservative movement. We know this. We know that Grover Norquist, I have run copies of the checks from the Muslim Brotherhood by Ahmoudi, who's in jail now. We have been infiltrated. He's a highly respected figure in the Conservative Party. Very dangerous man. Grover Norquist, Suhail Khan, these are very dangerous people. And they go to candidates, young, you know, upstarts, and they finance them, and they own them for life. You need the Alan West, you need the Adam Hasnas, you need Ilario Pantano, because these things are happening, and you're not helpless. We're still a government by the people, for the people. And I'm going to tell you, the litigation jihad is very powerful. I'm being sued for $10 million. Did you know that? $10 million by Rivka Barry's parents' attorney for defamation. They call me every name in the book, okay? But it's truth. And again, understand, under the Sharia, what you understand is slander. What you understand is slander is not slander in Islam. Slander here is malintent and a lie. That's the Western values, Western law. In Islam, slander is insulting a Muslim. That's it. And like they told my friend, my colleague, Geert Wilders in Holland, he's on trial for fitna, an accurate documentary, 15-minute documentary. They said, it doesn't matter if you're telling the truth. What matters is it's illegal. Illegal where? Under the Sharia. And so in Muslim countries, when you defame Islam, and mind you, it's used as a tool of retribution because there's a doctor who's been charged with blasphemy in Pakistan, and all he did was throw away the business card of a man named Muhammad. Get it? So it's used by Muslims against non-Muslims, and people are put to death for blasphemy. Now, in the West, they don't assassinate you, but I'll tell you what they do. They assassinate your character. They discredit you, they marginalize you, they render you radioactive. The Southern Law Poverty Center, an uber left-wing group, has designated me a hate group. How you doing? It's true. And it's effective because every time they say my name, and Pamela Geller, SPLC designated hate group, this is what they do. They shut down the truth tellers, and they never ever address the truth. There is a problem in Islam. Islam is a complete system. It is an economic system, it is a legal system, it is a social system, it is a cultural system. From the minute you wake up to the minute you go to sleep, everything you do has been predetermined. And by the way, there's no individualism at all. Now, I don't have a problem with the religious aspect. Seriously? I don't care if you worship a stone. Just don't stone me with it. I have a problem with the political, the legal, the cultural aspect of it. I have a problem with the diminishment and the dehumanization of women. And you've got to be seeing an increase in this in America. The spiking in honor killings that they cover up. Noor al-Maliki, Sarah and Amina Saeed. I thought if there was ever a story that was going to take off, it was those two girls. Two beautiful girls, Amina and Sarah Saeed, teenagers, just like your daughters. Cell phone toting, t-shirt wearing, AP students, love to play tennis, love to play soccer, brutally murdered by their father in Texas. He's still at large, and nobody talks about them. And when they accused me of being the leader of the opposition of the Ground Zero Mosque, I said, I wish I had that power. If I had that power, that story would have been the #1 news story. Fatima Abdullah would be the #1 news story. That this is happening, and it's not unique. In Dearborn, the city of Dearborn is being sued, law enforcement, for covering up honor killings. I am still suing Dearborn for prohibiting my bus ads for apostates. Remember my bus ads? They ran in Florida first. CARE got them taken down for 24 hours, but I got them put up, and they had to give me an extra 20 buses. Leaving Islam? Well, why did I do that campaign? You know why I did that campaign? Because I was in Florida covering the Rifka Barry channel. And as I'm covering, the Rifka Barry story. And as I'm covering it, and I'm going back to, I guess, the airport, I see buses proselytizing for Islam. Come to Islam. Why Islam? Call 1-800-ISLAM and get answers. I thought, what about those that want to leave Islam? So I came up with leaving Islam. They're asking why. They're saying, come. I'm saying, you want to go? Come here. They wouldn't. What this caused across the country, you have no idea. I was involved in 3 lawsuits just to get those 10 bus ads up. That's the kind of chokehold they have on the media, where I did a piece on the Society of Professional Journalists. They tell journalists how to cover terror. If you are covering a terrorist attack, do not mention religion. If you have to mention religion, maybe because the bomber was screaming Allahu Akbar, don't forget to bring up an abortion clinic. Don't forget to bring up other religious acts of terror. There is a way of reporting on these things. That's why you cannot go to the media for your news. You have to go to sites like mine and Robert Spencer. You have to become your own media organization. You have to wake up in the morning, rub the sleep from your pretty little eyes and say, what am I going to do today to support and save the Republic? I mean that. You have to do something every day. I admire Bev Pearlson. She's been fighting for our troops for years. 4 years. Unsung hero. Okay? And she's right. While I am very unhappy with our foreign policy, and I am, I don't understand the action in Libya. I don't understand it. And that we're putting troops there now, no congressional approval, complete abandonment of the War Powers Act. I don't understand this at all. There was one revolution to support. One. June 2009. And I was the only one, with the exception of the Huffington Post, that was reporting on it. It was a massacre. on a massive scale. And Twitterers that were sending me pictures and videos of people being killed were disappearing. Persian kiwi disappeared. I mean, and he completely ignored it. And I was running pictures of him buying ice cream. You know how he buys ice creams for the kids when things get a little tough? Goes and gets a photo op. That was a real revolution. How do I know that? You don't have to be a rocket scientist. I'll tell you how you know it. Everybody was in the streets. The women with the eyeline and the lipstick, no hijab. The hijab was there too, but so what? Children, men, Zoroastrian, Persians, everybody was in those streets. That is the head of the snake. That is Hezbollah. That is Hamas. They're at war with us. They killed our Marines, 1981. That was Hezbollah, killed 243 Marines, 1981. The barracks bombing. They are agitating in Bahrain. It's them. It is Iran making the trouble in Bahrain. They've partnered with the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt. That's the head of the snake. That's where you pick your fights. What are you doing in Libya? The guy's a schmuck. A terrible schmuck? Absolutely. But if you remember when we went into Iraq, he gave up all his weapons of mass destruction. Remember that? Gave up his nuclear. All right, ho. He's a follower. He's not a leader. Whatever you do there is not going to make a difference. We are spread thin. We are going bankrupt. So you don't put troops there. And now we find out there's a covert war now in Yemen. So 4 wars. And I'm asking you, what's the objective? Is the objective to defeat jihad? That's the only objective in this war, is to defeat jihad. Instead, he's naming really scary characters to his administration. His envoy to the Organization of Islamic Conference is a Hafiz. You know what a Hafiz is? A Hafiz is a devout Muslim who knows the Quran by heart. Now, if you know the Quran by heart, then you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Because all of these things, every one of these attacks that you see are in the Quran. Now they say, oh, you know, it's a misinterpretation. Let me say something. Interpretation is punishable by death in Islam. In Islam, unlike the Old Testament, I'm not going to go into a whole series here on the Quran, but understand a couple fundamental things. A, the Old Testament and the New Testament were written by men. Yes, by stories of God, but it was written by men, not the Quran. The Quran is the word of Allah, so said Muhammad. It is the word of Allah seared into his memory and written down. So you are not allowed, who the hell are you to reinterpret the word of Allah? You are not allowed. And if you do, you are a hypocrite. A hypocrite, by the way, in Islam is a more gruesome crime than apostasy, which is punishable by death. And so is hypocrisy. Hypocrisy is punishable by death. This is what's the fundamental problem. You can't reinterpret the Quran. You can't, you know, the real radicals, I know everybody says radical Islam. It is not radical Islam. It is pure Islam. It is original Islam. The real radicals are the reformers. And are we supporting them? I don't see that. I see every Islamic voice is a member of some Muslim Brotherhood group. Read the evidence that was entered into the Holy Land Trial. 300 groups, the biggest Muslim groups in America, Muslim Student Association, which, by the way, has destroyed our college campuses. I cannot go to a college campus without being armed to the teeth. I cannot go to college campuses without the uber left and the Muslims screaming, you know, hate, 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 not in our state. I am a lover. I am not a hater. I had absolutely no interest in politics before 9/11. I spent the ensuing years studying Islam, and then I started writing about it because the media wasn't covering it. And now they have become complicit. And in my book, The Post-American Presidency, and I was down here in Boca, November 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, screaming at the liberal Jews in Boca about Obama. Ah, you're racist. They would yell at me. Whatever. They have to be freaking now. If they have this much intelligence or critical thinking left, they have to be flipping out, because this man clearly is the greatest threat that Israel ever faced in the West. The greatest. But here is a man, understand something. His father was a Muslim, which makes him a Muslim in the Muslim world. His stepfather was a Muslim. He was raised in a Muslim country, Jakarta, from the age of 6 to 12. He studied Islam. His schoolmates said he would recite Quran perfectly. Told Nicholas Kristof of the New York Times, the prettiest sound he ever heard was the Muslim call to prayer at sunset. So why am I bringing this up? Because he's Islamophilic. I'm not saying he's a Muslim. I'm not saying he's not a Muslim. I don't really care, because all I care about is his actions. Jesus Christ said, by their fruits ye shall know them, and so we know him. Amen. He has given now how many billions to the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt and committed how much? 40 billion to the Islamic Spring. Let me tell you something. There's nothing spring-like in these revolutions. They're all against U.S. Muslim countries, and they are all going to go down in a wave to Islamic supremacists. And what's really happening here is these regimes, and while they may have been ugly, there are no heroes in this story, so don't say, oh, you really love Gaddafi. No. There are no heroes in this story. What I am saying is there are degrees. And these regimes would not allow religious parties in the government. This was the key thing. Assad, too. And you know I have no love for Assad. So you won't like what comes after America. I'm warning you. There is no country like America in the history of the world. In the history of the world, it was the first moral government in the history of the world. The first government in the history of man that was based on individual rights. This is America. This is the key. Individual rights and everything noble and just and magnificent and brilliant that America achieved was a logical fidelity to that principle. Do you understand me? It's up to you. I'm telling you. You must get involved. You must get your family involved. You must get your friends involved. I know what they're going to say to you. Stop sending me that stuff. Keep sending it. Go to these rallies. Yesterday, I had about 100 people at the Fatima rally. I was very happy. It's new. People don't know about it. The media is not covering it. The Ground Zero Mosque took 7 months. I started writing about the Ground Zero Mosque December 2009. And I urged people to go to the Landmarks hearing, and people came. A couple hundred people came. And at that hearing, I said, you got to come to Ground Zero on D-Day. And I thought I was going to get a couple hundred people. Thousands showed up. And then on 9/11, I had 35,000 people there. It makes a difference. And mind you, that's not over. They're going to build it. Oh, sure. The media stopped covering it because the media decided that it's going to be built. A 15-story mega mosque in a building that was destroyed in the 9/11 attacks. When the plane crashed into the building, the landing gear went flying into the roof, destroyed the building, a $25 million building that was sold for $4 million. So it is ground zero. When they say it's not, it is ground zero. And they're naming it Cordoba. So they have to be laughing in the back room. Cordoba is iconic of Islamic conquest over the West. In 7/11, Muslim armies invaded Spain, which was a collection of Christian kingdoms. And while it may have been the golden era, they like to call it the golden age for Muslims, it certainly wasn't golden for the Christians and the Jews who lived under divitude, denied basic human rights. It was the site of the first, and actually there were two, but the first Jewish pogrom, slaughtering 5,000 Jews. And they're naming a 15-story mosque at Ground Zero, Cordoba. Don't think for 1 second that will not become Mecca on the Hudson. It will draw every single, it will become the icon in every jihadi site. Listen, if you don't show up for a tennis match, you lose. If you don't show up for this war, you're going to lose. And don't be afraid of being called names, because you're going to be called names. That is the left. That is Saul Alinsky. That is how they operate. Destroy, discredit, polarize, get rid of the truth teller, and people will be afraid to speak. They did it to the Tea Party, or they tried to. The Tea Party is going to save this country. I'm telling you. Oh, I believe that. I believe that. And I know this is a tough issue for the Tea Party, and I am with the Tea Party. Limited government, no taxes, I am with you. But I am telling you that this is a number one threat to your children's lives and to the future of this country. On that, I'm hoping that Adam, I don't know, it's not my business, I'm sure, that Adam Haslund will speak. This is a man that has to be supported. Also, support people that are doing things. You write checks. Don't just write a check. Who's doing the work? Who's getting things done? What's being done? You want, just like if you pay for something at the store, you know what you're getting. Look at what people are doing that you support. They need your money. There's no money on our side, I got to tell you. The big money's not on our side. They are wildly financed, wildly. And when they don't like somebody, they hit them with lawsuits. And if my lawyers weren't defending me pro bono, I'd be finished. I'm telling you, finished. So You have to help fight. I want to start, somehow help support a legal resource, because look at Sheepshead Bay, we're fighting a mega mosque. A mega mosque on a quiet residential street, Voorhees, in Sheepshead Bay. Such lovely people they are, this group, the Bay people. And they've gone through, what, 50, 60,000 in legal fees? It's a Muslim brotherhood group, avowedly. The Muslim American Society, MAS, is the public face of the Muslim Brotherhood, established in 1993. They are vile. The lawyer is vile. Their lawyer, Lamis Deek, speaks at these Islamic rallies. The things that she says, it's like it doesn't matter. But these people need money. These are regular folks. And this is happening across the country. Why would they establish and build, and of course violate building codes? These mega mosques on a quiet residential street where there are no other churches, no other synagogues, no business, in a largely non-Muslim neighborhood, to establish a rabat, a beachhead, and change the neighborhood in 5 to 10 years. And this is happening all over the country. So you have to wake up. It's time. We've been living on the fumes of the greatest generation since the end of World War II. Well, let me tell you something. Just as we revere our parents and our grandparents for fighting the scourge of Nazism and evil, defeating evil, our children and our grandchildren are going to hate us. I promise you that, because we let them be held hostage by nuclear terrorist regimes and rogue groups. That's what's happening in the world today. Stop looking in the rearview mirror. It's not an accurate picture. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.